Okay, I'm Michael Seymour. I'm one of the co-owners of Tall Poppy, and I don't come from a real estate background. The company was founded by a guy called David Graves, who's now sort of like in his 70s, and a visionary, I guess, in the real estate sector. And I had a background in pharmacy, and then I ended up just not having much to do, and I ran into this guy, David Graves, and so I came innocently into real estate, and I had no real desire to even get remotely into real estate, and David convinced me that it would be a good idea. But as a scientist, I started to dig into what it means to do real estate, what the companies were doing. Everyone's aware of the large companies like Harcourts and Ray White and these big dominant companies, but few people know the little disruptor companies, of which Tall Poppy was one.
Awesome. So what is the difference? What is the point of difference for a little brand like Tall Poppy?
I could probably rattle about 25 differences because of my passion, but the key difference, I think, especially at the beginning, is that Tall Poppy is what we call a list and sell company, as opposed to the large traditional real estate companies where they share listings between agents. And so I come from a very analytical purist perspective, and I always wondered why. I remember reading once that real estate agents were one above the sex workers for trust of professionals. And I found that pretty hilarious, but there's a reason for it, right? Because I know lots of real estate agents, they're all good people, and so I couldn't quite fathom it. But where it comes from is that this whole shared listing business, which was really appropriate before the internet, when everyone had to drive people around to the properties in their car and you had to look at newspapers on the weekend to try and find what was for sale, that's no longer appropriate. But the big companies are still running that shared model, and that creates tension for commissions and money with the agents. Now, the list and sell one, Tall Poppy's model, the agent lists the property, the agent really dedicates all their time and effort to that property and sells that property. All of the other agents in Tall Poppy are happy to pour any knowledge, buyers, listings in to help that one, but they don't have a perverse incentive to earn money from it. And that was the essence of why I jumped into Tall Poppy and why I poured my efforts to try and grow it, because the fundamental difference was actually a pure one. It was actually about a low level of conflict for perverse incentives with the right way of getting people to work.
Mm-hmm. And how do the agents respond to that sort of model? Like, some of them probably came from those competitors having that highly competitive environment, and it's probably quite toxic. How do they respond when they come across the Tall Poppy?
Well, you're quite right. Many of our top agents transitioned from these other companies, and you're quite right. They transitioned because of a conflict that wasn't resolved adequately. Right? Now, I want to be really clear when I say this, is that I'm not begging any people. I think that there's great people in real estate, but models offer these perverse incentives, and sometimes they're real nasty. And these people, they know that with modern technology, buyers do not need agents to find a property. Sometimes it helps, but the technology is the dominant factor. So with technology in mind, and with them being able to run their own business with essentially camaraderie, I'll just say one thing that sticks to mind. When a lot of these people come to Tall Poppy, they'll say something like this: I was part of a large team, right? And we promoted ourselves as a big team, but I felt very isolated, very alone, and often marginalised. That's why I'm here. And what they say after they've been here for a while is, I work on my own and I work from home, right? I'm part of a small team that meets occasionally. I feel really supported and part of a larger thing, and I feel at home with a family. And so that's ironic, isn't it? Given that, you work from home, and but you've got all these tools. And, this is the shift. We've got one office for the whole of New Zealand, and it means I can hire the best people in New Zealand to channel their work for our agent team, as opposed to having 200 offices, where I have to have similar sorts of resources, but maybe not the same calibre.
That's really interesting. I did not know that's how the model worked. That's really cool. Give us an idea of the scale of the business then, how many staff you employ and how many agents you have.
Sure.
Across the country.
Yep. I would think that we're a relatively small business compared to others. We've got about 120 agents around New Zealand at the moment, and we've got about 30 support staff that roll with it. If you include all of their support staff PAs, other people that support them. There's probably a couple of hundred. But the potential for us to grow has been very high, and we've been waiting to, I guess, get the technologies and the systems and processes together so that we can do that. Tall Poppy's about to, just coincidentally with the interview, Tall Poppy's about to launch some tech products that no one else in the market's got, and that's going to fuel our next period of growth. But what we are interested in doing, we're interested in taking elite people and using them, building elite tools with them, but we're very mindful that the type of person that radiates toward Tall Poppy is culturally, it's a very specific type of person, right? The cutthroat, do anything for commission person is not going to be at home at Tall Poppy because they have to also have a desire to assist others. And not in a really hideous way, but in a, I guess, a warm-hearted way. So all of our top people are highly competitive. They have to have a few brains. They have to want to participate in what we do, but the benefits of it are massive. And yeah, I think we're just about to unleash, because of our amazing team here, some things that no one else has, which is exciting.
Can you tell us about this new technology, or is it too early?
No, it's already in play. And it's not, everyone's not using it all yet, and we're in a training journey, but we're the first company in New Zealand to have like fully integrated offer management contract tools. So everybody else in the market still using like Adobe Acrobat or even paper listing tools. You can go onto our website, onto a listing, you can make an offer. It will walk you through the process. When you finish your offer, it'll go to the agent. The agent will then chat with the vendor. It's a press of a button, the whole thing's done. Lawyers, everything, right? And there's a lot of time in that stuff. It doesn't take away the agent-vendor relationship and the agent-buyer relationship. It enhances it because it takes away the silly admin. It is unnecessary. And that's one example. But we've also got a full vendor portal that people can use on their phone or on their laptop, which shares the entire journey transparently with them the whole way. So, even just things like the photos are done, the photos turn up on their phone and they can have a discussion about it no matter where they are in the world. We've got agents doing a full sales offer process right through to the finish on chairlifts, skiing with their family on holiday, because that's what we can do now. And technology's not taking over, technology's enabling the relationships to be better. So these are more satisfied buyers, more satisfied vendors, and it's helping our guys have great relationships. But we've also built other things. So sorry to go on, but we've built a tool to work with developers. So we can now take, one listing address or one listing, say, of an apartment block or 1,000 sections or whatever. We can dedicate one listing to it, and then our system will create all of the other listings, I guess, in a parent-child type scenario, but all with the detail, all the property information, and make an offer button on every single thing, right? And we can create a website instantly from that, and then we can show the whole development selling out, but it's all with those cutting-edge tools, and nobody else has that. So that's nice to bring to the market. We've also created another cool product. So a lot of people say at this time of the year, they want to sell, but they don't want to come on until end of September, October, when the weather's a bit better. They're doing up their house, or they might be just getting it ready. But there's no reason why that property couldn't be available to the market other than they don't want to pay for the marketing and whatnot to go online. So we've created a way where that house can be available to buyers on our database with a PIN code, where we can share all of that information now with the vendor willingly, just in case that that one unique buyer comes along before that period. Why would you want to miss out? And so we're now bringing these tools to the market, and we're getting a pretty good response from our client base. Oh, the final thing, because you're going to edit this anyway. So one of the other things that we've recently done is that because we are transparent and we share everything between our agents, we've actually been working hard on our, you'll hear real estate companies talk about their database. And database for real estate agents is my database. That's how I earn my money compared to the other ones and whatnot. But we don't have that. And so what we've done is we've worked hard with our agents to create a national database. There's nearly 300,000 buyers in our database. And now when our salespeople go to talk to a vendor to win a listing or to promote our business, they literally have all of in our whole database, all of the buyers available to contact, again, with no perverse incentives. And it's been astonishing, the amount of, I think one story recently was, one of our guys listed a house that went out to the buyer database. They woke up in the morning and had an offer in their inbox from our whole offer. No idea that would happen. Obviously, there's a lot of work to do beyond that, but the fact that this stuff's happening is new and exciting for our team. So, like I said, I think we're about to enter into a really cool new era. It's nice to be able to, showcase the fact that we're tagged with the Buy New Zealand Made, and I think that's, for us, that's also important because we feel that we are standing for something, and it's not, again, not knocking anybody else, but we feel very clearly that that we occupy a position of looking after New Zealanders.
Those tech changes sound really good. Having been through the process of going back and forth with the sales and purchase agreement about 20 times,
Bro, yeah,
that would have saved a whole lot of time. So sounds amazing. Did you say your background's in science then?
I'm a pharmacist.
Pharmacist. Okay. So I'm keen to know if there's been any big surprises for you stepping into this new industry. Obviously, the market's in a bit of a lull at the moment.
Yes.
What have your key learnings been from taking on this new role?
Well, I thought I'd come into the industry. I thought I'd be here for about 5 years, and I'm already hitting 10, and I've got a sneaky suspicion I might be here for another 10. But my key learnings are basically just how underdeveloped this industry is, how much little amount of facts there are, and I hate to say it, how much smoke and mirrors and just nonsense that people accept people saying. Much of what you hear marketed from real estate salespeople, as nice as they might be, has no foundation. And I'm a scientist. I'm like, it's either a fact or it's not a fact. Get the facts. So I spend a lot of my time trying to get the facts. And some of the other tools that I haven't told you about, which are to do with comparison tools about the quality of agent work and these sorts of things. Now that AI is prevalent, and I'm 57 years old, but I've taught myself how to code with the old Replit and these sorts of things. And now I'm digging into data sources because I want to know, if I had to go and sell my house, who would I choose and why would I choose them and what information would I look at? And I don't think there's just no information about this. It's about who promotes themselves the best, who sells the most, and who's got the best social media presence. But I'd be keen, like I said, as a pharmacist, I want to know whether the drug's going to work or not, or the process is going to work or not. And I think we need to justify that. And these changes that we're making are all about transparency and sharing. So giving the consumer more respect, I guess.
Awesome. I want to go back to the New Zealand Made, New Zealand service aspect of it.
Yep.
If someone was looking at listing their property,
yes,
why would you recommend they go to a property over the big international competitors?
Well, I think there's a number of choices when that happens. I think can I just answer your question in a way that's maybe not what you asked? I'll answer it in what I think is important, right? I think nearly every agent in New Zealand has access to very similar technologies to sell a house, right? And then they have different levels of the way that they'll go about communicating and whatnot. I think the expectation of the vendor and what they want from the process is the most important thing. Therefore, choosing somebody that's going to make you feel safe and comfortable is the most critical thing. I'll say that up front, right? But beyond that, communication, I think, is a fair and reasonable thing to expect. So the way I put it to our guys is that I'm likening our journey to go toward where Uber are, and I don't mean to take away the people, I mean to share the information. The difference, I never ever take taxis unless I have to. And I don't know that every taxi driver is bad, but I don't trust any of them because when I get in the taxi, I'm not given any respect, right? There's a sign that the meter's already running. It's already at $20, I don't know why. I don't know the route. And when it's finished, another $20 goes on, I still don't know why, right? And there are signs up to say these things, but it's not the same as knowing your taxi driver's name, knowing how many trips they've had, knowing how many people have rated them, knowing that if they don't do well, they're going to get fired, and I guess knowing the cost of the journey, being able to choose things. Now, that's what I expect of all transactions now, and I believe that's what the consumer expects. You know, when you buy a parcel from Amazon, you almost know where it is every second of the journey. And I think it's fair and reasonable for real estate to get to the point where it's sharing everything. You know, not everybody wants to know everything, but some people do. And having it available, I think that's a respect thing. So I think that anybody entering into a real estate sales journey should think about, how's the person going to communicate with me? What are my expectations? Will they be met? You know, and I think New Zealanders are very slow in putting their views forward. Many of us are almost like shy in terms of like rate us on the international scale. I think we're probably at the shy end. But I think what we need to do is to start to be a bit more assertive about what we expect. And the only way that's going to happen is choice, right? Right. So if I can build a company that becomes bigger and bigger, and then other people have to meet our standards, that would be the golden sort of achievement for me. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, that sort of leeways into the next question. Where do you see Tall Poppy in the next 10 or 20 years?
So in terms of a national thing, I don't have grandiose goals. But in terms of bringing our services to regions of New Zealand, if we can find somebody that thinks and wants to have the same aspirations as us, and we can enable them, I'll go there. So my goal would be to be everywhere. I expect that when we do find someone who has, I guess, the same qualities with our technology, I'd expect that we could get significant market share. So even though we're only a tiny company, I would expect to have no less than 10% market share in any area. And when I say that, maybe not region, but an area where we have an agent operating, I would expect 10 to 20, 25%, maybe in a small area, way more. I think that we've got the best tools. So if we partner with the best people, I think we're going to get a dominant thing going, but you know, got a long way to go.
Yeah, awesome. You mentioned before that people can be a bit shy to speak up and stuff. I'm really interested in the name because in New Zealand, I feel like a lot of business owners like yourself can be really shy to tell their story, and then at the opposite end of the scale, we've got this thing. So where did the name Tall Poppy come from, and why are you using it for a real estate brand?
Well, you might have to go on a little road trip to Te Horo and actually seek out David because Tall Poppy, the name Tall Poppy was here before me. It was David's dream. So I think, I'll go back. David's biggest thing, the list and sell model, we were, if not the first, we were one of the first list and sell models in New Zealand, and David has to be credited with putting that stake in the ground. Now, his name Tall Poppy, as I recall my conversations with David, is that David wanted to create agents that were not afraid to put their head up and be different and offer a high quality of service and build their own brand alongside our brand. So our goal would be, that a really great agent was happy building their own profile alongside Tall Poppy, knowing that both had value. And I guess it's just that thing of lack of fear of putting your head up. People that know me, they know I'm always up for that. So, there's a nice alignment between he and I, but it's David's baby, the brand.
Awesome. And last couple of questions. So what makes this area, so special for you to do business in and to be based in for your headquarters or your only office?
Do you know something?
Something that you don't, what?
Do you know, well, okay, so, right, I'm born and bred in Paraparaumu, but that's not why we're here. That's a complete coincidence. It's just a nice one. I'm a Paraparaumu college boy, born and bred in the Kapiti. I went to pharmacy school, which in the day was actually in Trentham in the Hutt Valley, and did my pharmacy training there and never really came home. And so, like I said, I'm 57 now. I've got a couple of adult children. But David was in the Hutt Valley and then in Wellington, then decided to move out here, and we had another shareholder in the early days who was based in Kapiti, and Kapiti was basically where Tall Poppy took off, right? So back in the very early days, Tall Poppy took off in Kapiti. And it just so happened that shareholder who's no longer with Tall Poppy, we decided to buy a building on the Kapiti coast. And so, that just, for me, it was almost like a homecoming. So, my family are out here, so that's a nice tie-in for me, and David moved to Te Horo. So, it's not really, I wouldn't even call Tall Poppy a Kapiti company, but here we are. And I love the fact that we've got an office in my hometown, and I love the fact my parents are still alive in the early 80s, and they love it too. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Last question: what gets you out of bed in the morning?
Oh, shit. Yeah. So I've been told I'm technically unemployable. I've owned my own businesses since I was 27. So in the pharmacy side, I went into business early. I built up businesses, and I basically create a way that I can have a job because I have to employ myself. That's me trying to be a little bit funny. Look, I'm a give back person. I'm a creator person, and I love being surrounded by people who are I'm building them up too. So everybody here in Tall Poppy that works for us has the ability to grow, and I want to be that person that if I died tomorrow, I want a few people turning up at my funeral, and I think I get a lot of joy out of adding value to others, basically. So it gets me up. I'm a pretty energetic character anyway, So.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Michael. Really appreciate it. Nailed it, of course.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Right.